Hi, this is Trey Graham welcoming you to the newest edition of the Matt Nally Show. We're broadcasting from the Z-Plex. This is the Dugout Sports Grill. We're actually in the TCS media room, and I'm joined by Melissa Cardinals head football coach Matt Nally. Coach Nally, welcome to another football season.
It's crazy, right, that it's already upon us, but yes, sir, thank you.
It is time to start the season again. We've got the Salina Bobcats coming up. Before we talk about the first game of the year, as we always talk about in the first interview, talk about the summer, talk about the training camp. What's gotten you to this point?
First and foremost, we try to run a pretty old school training camp, a pretty old school in the regards of fierce and physical and heat and sweat, and that's what we try to do. And there's a lot of people that don't do that these days. They believe in, kind of that mentality of we're going to keep them fresh and whatnot, and that's just not me. That's just not who I am. So we have been really pushing our kids, especially in the heat and long practices, just to get them prepared. So it has been unbelievable. It's probably been the best fall camp I've ever been a part of. Our kids here, Melissa, are amazing. Our parents here are amazing. They've been giving us fruit and chocolate milk and gummies to help for recovery. But the fall camp part of it has been genuinely the best I've ever been a part of.
Now you have the new championship center. So you have an indoor facility and you have several outdoor practice fields. Have you gone back and forth?
That's what we do. We go back and forth. We have so many kids in our program. From 9th grade up is 162. So and we try to split the freshmen and the JV and the varsity, but there's a lot of kids rolling through there. So we can't use just one field. We have to use both. But yes, sir, it has been a blessing from the community of Melissa and administration to have that facility, especially, when you're going in, you're working, you might be working defensive pass hole inside, you might be working, a team setting outside, and you couldn't do that in the past. So, and then you get to go into that unbelievable weight room that we have that you can fit every kid into. So yes, sir, it's been a true blessing to have all those facilities.
You're watching the Matt Nally Show, getting you ready for tonight's first game of the year, the Salina Bobcats in town. We'll talk about them in a few minutes. Matt, talk about your new coaching staff for the season.
To be honest with you, we didn't lose anybody. We've retained everyone, and that's something that I'm really proud of. It's telling me that I'm not a huge jerk, to deal with. But
should I ask them?
Yeah, right. But at the end of the day, the coaching staff that we have is amazing. We did add a few other guys, and to be honest with you, these guys are just volunteering. They're not getting paid to do what they're doing. So they just wanted to be a part of the Melissa program and around Melissa kids.
And a year ago when we did this, we were talking about what would COVID do to the football season. Right. You and I have already talked off the air. Some high schools this week have had to cancel their games due to COVID outbreaks at their schools. So what precautions have you taken, and what do you think COVID is going to do to this season?
Well, to answer your second question first, hopefully nothing. Obviously there's different aspects, and there's politicians and things like that we can't control. Precautions, to be honest with you, it's the same. We did the exact same as last year, except we have bought these machines that are so amazing. They're ozone machines. So we used to last year go before, during, and after practice and disinfect the entire locker room. And I did it, and it took me 30 minutes to do it every single time. You're disinfecting every kid's locker. Where now we put that ozone machine in there, and it sucks, staph, COVID, anything you could possibly think of, and it kills it before it can get exposed to the kids. So for me personally, that has been the biggest buy that we've had all season. And we have 3 of them for the freshman, JV, and the varsity locker room. So you'll walk in there sometimes and it's just like this hazy fog, but that's that ozone machine doing its job.
Talk about the various teams. You've mentioned them already: freshman team, JV team, varsity team. Is there one of each? And how do you divide the players?
Well, right now we have 2 freshmen, 1 JV, and 1 varsity. And I'm going to be honest with you, we just got our numbers today from the junior high. We have 80 8th graders. We have 72 7th graders. So we're going to have to manipulate and figure it out as we continue to go on. Probably going to have 2 freshmen, 2 JVs, obviously a varsity before it's all said and done. Probably next year we're going to have to go in that direction. What we do is it's all about development in Melissa. So we want to make sure that we're developing every kid, not just that elite kid or whatever the case may be. Every kid's going to get developed. So we have colors that we put them on, and those kids can rotate through the colors. So like we say, you're on the freshman team, but your color's black. You're on the freshman team, but your color's red. So we're not going to separate. I don't like that. I don't like separating and say you're the black team and you're a red team. I don't like to do that. You're the freshman team. You're the JV team. We're all Melissa Cardinals. Because you don't know how a kid's going to be from their freshman year to their junior year, their senior year, just based off of puberty. So that's the biggest thing that we do, and it's all about getting 1,000 reps with those kids.
And just for the education of our audience, the principal, Mr. Wooten, told me this week that the high school enrollment is right around 1,330 students. So we're looking at another season in Class 4A football, but 5A is around the corner. So let's talk about the season. We'll talk about the Bobcats in just a moment, but you're getting ready for the season, 10-game regular season, non-district schedule begins. You always talk about those 3 phases or 3 seasons. This is the non-district schedule, even though it's a local rival.
Right.
It's a non-district game. Talk about this first phase.
So our first phase is we call Halloween because you get to dress up to practice. So we're going to be focused on us, and that's the biggest deal. Is we're highly ranked, they're highly ranked. There's going to be a ton of media there Friday night. It's going to be senior night, things like that, and you can get tied up into things that mean nothing. So once again, we call it Halloween for a reason. Go out there, be about us, get better. And it's about shining in the playoffs. It's not just about beating Salina or beating Frisco Memorial or Carter or Heritage, because at the end of the day, if you go 0-4 and win the state championship, nobody cares that you went 0-4. So right now we're concentrating on what can we do to get better every single day in this phase, because we don't get a bye before we see Paris. It is 4 games and then it's Paris. So we're prepping for Paris. We've been prepping for Paris since August the 2nd, and we're going to continue to prep for Paris every single week, because that's what really matters, is that Paris, Argyle, Ranchview, Anna, Terrell, Kaufman. So like I said, we call it Halloween, and then once we get into district play, we call that the ascension. We're trying to climb the mountain, and then the playoffs we call the tournament, because at the end of the day, you want to be holding the trophy at the end of the tournament. So, but yeah, I mean, we're very blessed to have the pre-district schedule that we do have. It gives us an early measuring stick each week, and things that we need to work on. I'm really excited about the game plan this week in the regards of my offense and my defensive staff. Special teams is something that we've really harped on since August the 2nd, but I got an unbelievable staff that really needs to take the credit for the success that we're going to have this year.
We will give you a preview of the Salina Bobcats in just a moment, but name a couple names that Cardinal fans will hear about from your offense and defense.
I mean, everything's going to be centered around Sam Finnegan. Sam, if
very talented quarterback.
He's not bad. If we can keep him on his feet, we're going to be, it doesn't matter what game we are, we're going to be pretty successful. And then you're going to have, for me, the offensive line is where it's going to start. I mean, Seth Pintor is our leader of our team. He's the leader of our offensive line. We got Ty Gerard. He's going to be a senior, and he's really stepped up to be that center leader that we need, playing center. And then we got a freshman. I mean, Owen Hollenbeck. I mean, he's going to start on the offensive line, and he's 6'3", 300 pounds, and he has some freshman moments. But my goodness gracious alive, he has some senior SEC moments as well. So we're really excited about him and his development. And then on the offensive side, I mean, I hate to be this way because I'm kind of old school and these receivers just drive me crazy, but we have probably the best crop of receivers that I've ever had as a coach. And it's going to start with Javon Smith, and I'm going to keep going because there's a ton of them. Javon Smith, Matthew Sanford, Luke Fowler, Trey Williams, Jacob Fields. I'm going to miss somebody, Carson Maynard. We just have a plethora, Jacob Casano, of kids that can catch the ball or run the ball and make a play. So we're very fortunate enough in that. And then the people that probably don't get a lot of credit in our offense just because we ask them to just run downhill and get us 2 or 3 at the most, is our running backs, Ashton Mitchell-Johnson, Nathan Adejoke, and Parrish Adger. Those guys are going to do such an amazing job for us. So those are probably on the offensive side. The defensive side is going to start with probably Kel Brakebill and Nigel Smith. Nigel has been playing out of his mind the last 2 scrimmages.
He who received a scholarship offer from Notre Dame.
And then you're going to we have 2 inside backers that this is going to be their first Friday night experience, but they have been flying to the football. And we've been excited about, it's actually 3 of them. Jason Cave, Alex Secreto, and Dalton Whitwer. They've been flying around getting after it. And then Jacob Fields in the back end, Ryan Johnson in the back end. We're really excited about those kids as well. And then special teams wise, Aiden Pintor has been just a mule in practice, and then Anna Blankenship is automatic when it comes to PATs. So we're really excited about those kids, and those are probably the kids that you're probably going to hear about a lot.
You're watching the Matt Nally Show. Now let's talk about the Orange people are in town. The Salina Bobcats, Melissa Cardinals, are on a 4-game winning streak against the Orange people. Talk about Coach Elliott and the Bobcats.
All the time it's going to be, you watch them, we watched them scrimmage last week, and it's going to look like poetry. It's going to be all put together extremely well. Their coaching staff does an amazing job. I think this is probably their best team that they've had in a while. Everything's going to start with their quarterback, Noah Bentley. He's very talented. In my personal opinion, he'll probably be the best quarterback that we see at least in the next 10 games. I don't know what the Argyle quarterback looks like.
Because they haven't picked one yet.
But he's probably going to be the best that I think we're going to see in 10 games. And then they've got Colin Ulrich is an unbelievable receiver, and up front they're huge, and their running backs, Trey Hollins, is physical. Then on the defensive side, you're going to rotate over, and it's all going to start with Hunter Neely, and he's extremely physical, active linebacker. That it's just that typical. What you think about Salina, and when I think about Salina, I think about that Mike, and he's that kid that is a poster child of what that Mike in Salina.
That means middle linebacker for the non-football fluent people.
He is, in my opinion, probably going to be one of the best defenders that we see probably all year. So it's going to start with him. So those are probably the kids that you're going to hear a lot about on Friday night.
You've been watching the season opening edition of the Matt Nally Show, brought to you by First Melissa. We're broadcasting from the Z-Plex, the Dugout Sports Grill, and this is the TCS Media Room. You are listening and watching to the Melissa Cardinals Network.